As the energetic and upbeat lead of Mary Poppins and Chitty Bang Bang, Dick Van Dyke has been known for a long time. Beyond these iconic performances, though, there is a part of Van Dyke's biography that he has been cagey about until now. An unforgettable moment in television history occurred in 1961 with The Dick Van Dyke Show. However, the actor's intense feelings of jealousy and tension led to major rifts in the group, belying the seemingly perfect family dynamic. The real behind-the-scenes drama is now being revealed today by 99-year-old Dick Van Dyke. How did this adored celebrity let herself be so disappointed and frustrated? You are about to hear something shocking that will alter your opinion of this well-known entertainer and his career. When Van Dyke played Bert the Chimney Sweep in Mary Poppins, 1964, he shot to fame around the world. The comedy, dance, and musical feature he contributed to grossed over $100 million. But no matter what, his unremarkable Cockney accent will stick in people's minds. Van Dyke was the only one who spoke out against Bert's accent. He thought it was terrible. Despite being Irish, his accent instructor wasn't much better than he was, he said. It sounded terrible, but no one told him that while filming. Audiences adored his performance, especially the step-in-time dance number, despite the criticisms directed at his accent. It was not easy to film that sequence. Van Dyke, who was 41 years old, had to keep up with the younger dancers. The hardest dance he had ever done required 23 tries until he got it right, and he later said as much. Among Disney's most beloved live-action features, Mary Poppins remains a beloved classic. Fans agree that Bert's accent, played by Dick Van Dyke, wasn't great. A lot of people think his Cockney accent from the 1964 musical is the worst one ever. The Illinois native Van Dyke has said that the jokes about his performance will follow him wherever. He thought he was doing great at the time and didn't realize it sounded weird. The negative reviews didn't stop him from returning for the 2018 sequel, in which he played the role of Mr. Dawes Jr., the father of the character he had played in the first film. Thankfully, he was spared the need to employ the Cockney accent once more. Despite being in his 90s, Van Dyke still managed to pull off a spectacular dance number in the sequel, complete with a daring leap onto a desk without the aid of a stunt double. He went to great lengths to seem British in an interview he gave to the New York Times, and avoided making the same error twice. No one can doubt the effort that Dick Van Dyke put in to become a successful actor, even though his depictions of Bert and Mary Poppins were not perfect. Despite the backlash, he reprised his role in Mary Poppins Returns, 2018. In this sequel, he reprised his role as Mr. Dawes Sr.'s older son, Mr. Dawes Jr. The good news is that he avoided having to use the Cockney accent once more. Van Dyke still rocked a great dance number even after he was well into his 90s. Such as leaping atop a desk in the absence of a stunt double. He explained his efforts to seem more British and avoid repeating his previous error in an interview published in the New York Times. The audience adored his performance, particularly the step-in-time dance number, notwithstanding the complaints about his accent. Filming this was no easy feat. Being 41 years old, Van Dyke had to dance at the same level as the younger performers. After 23 attempts, he proclaimed it the most challenging dance he had ever performed. Even Disney devotees agree that Dick Van Dyke's Bert accent wasn't fantastic in Mary Poppins, a much-loved live-action film. A lot of people think his Cockney accent was the worst in cinema history. The Illinois native Van Dyke has stated that the jokes would always hurt him. He believed he was performing admirably while it was happening. Dick Van Dyke's work ethic is undeniable, accent or no accent. But when was his initial rise to fame? Be vigilant. In 1959, Van Dyke got his big break on Broadway with the musical The Girls Against the Boys. People were captivated by his performance, particularly by the telephone song. Despite the short run of the concert, just 16 performances. Bye Bye Birdie *, in which he had a significant role, was a game-changer for him as critics and producers took note. After landing the role of Rob Petrie on The Dick Van Dyke Show in 1961, his life took a dramatic turn. At start, that part was never even meant for him. Producer Sheldon Leonard saw Van Dyke in Bye Bye Birdie * and thought he was ideal for the role of Rob, even though creator Carl Reiner had intended to play the role himself. In doing so, he even outdid Johnny Carson. Even though CBS had some last-minute reservations, they decided to cast him just 18 days before filming began. They ultimately decided on Van Dyke, leaving him with less than 3 weeks to get ready. The original payment to Van Dyke was $1,250 per episode, or around $11,000 in today's money. His pay rose to $35,000 each episode in the last season. Despite the show's early struggles, CBS almost opted to cancel it. The problem was that Procter & Gamble stepped in and threatened to pull their ads. One of the reasons the program was so successful was because of the great chemistry that Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore had. Their genuine chemistry on screen opened up new doors for the show. It surged up the ranks and into the top 10 quite fast. Although the producers were worried about Van Dyke's age, 36 at the time, and Moore's age, 25 at the time, their chemistry was obvious. Their conduct was always that of professionals. Many of the other actors and actresses contributed to the show's popularity as well. The life of Dick Van Dyke has been the subject of numerous critical remarks over the years. He has admitted that there is some truth to some of these accusations. Can you tell me what those problems are and how bad they are? We should investigate. West Plains, Missouri was the site of Dick Van Dyke's birth on December 13, 1925. His childhood appeared unremarkable, taking place in a tiny town of barely a few thousand people. His dad, Lauren, sold cookies for a living, while his mom, Hazel, was a typist. Nobody could have predicted that Dick would become a great entertainer. They lived an unremarkable life. Surprisingly, West Plains has a history of producing famous people like Jan Howard and Porter Wagoner. Interestingly, the comedy for which Dick would eventually become famous was embodied in Charlie Chaplin's film Asterisk, The Gold Rush, which was released the same year Dick was born. The Dick family relocated to Danville, Illinois when Dick was a little boy. Leaving a smaller town of around 30,000 people behind, Dick's family relocated to Danville, Illinois, when he was a little boy. Since everyone knew one another, Dick made the observation that it seemed like the majority of the town consisted of his family. At the period, nearly everyone was struggling financially due to the Great Depression, which hit in the 1930s. A passion of entertainment was kindled in Dick by the fact that, due to financial constraints, his family would often visit a neighbor's house in order to listen to popular shows. It also came out that Danville was a great spot for talent. Singer Bobby Short and actor Donald O'Connor, of Asterisk Singing in the Rain, were among Dick's classmates who achieved stardom. Dick joined the theatrical club in high school and his career aspirations shifted away from being a priest. Singing and dancing were his life's work, and he became quite good at them. Schools were forced to produce their own musicals and plays during World War II because they were unable to afford to license popular works. His towering stature and commanding voice helped Dick get the leading roles. The productions weren't very complex, but they gave him a taste of acting. In 2004, after all these years had passed, he returned to his high school to get his graduation and even appeared in the musical by Birdie with the other classmates. This proves how important those years were for him. Dick opted to join the United States Army Air Forces in 1944 when he was still a high school student. Despite his best efforts, he was unable to fulfill his World War II dream of becoming a pilot. His weight was too low. He failed to meet the weight requirement due to his short stature, 6 feet 1 inch and 135 pounds. But he kept going. To get to the weight requirement, he ate bananas and drank water. He found out after enlisting that piloting planes wasn't his thing. Instead, he was tasked with entertaining the troops as part of a special team. He did everything from building sets for plays to acting in them and even becoming a radio broadcaster. In retrospect, Dick made the amusing observation that a career in show business was the final result of his dread of flying. He served until 1946, at which time he discovered his true calling, performing. In 1947, when Van Dyke was 22 years old, he got his first job as a radio DJ at WDN, a tiny station in Danville. He stepped into the station, asked for an audition, and was employed right away, even though he had no experience. He was the host of the 7 a.m. show to midday and became a fan favorite in no time. He had a flair for comedy and would use his imagination to create hilarious voices and characters for his broadcasts. Man on the Street, in which he interviewed regular people in a lighthearted and entertaining manner, was one of his most popular programs. He fooled the whole community into thinking a UFO had arrived on April 1, 1948, in an elaborate practical joke. The subsequent chaos resulted in a deluge of calls to the authorities. His notoriety in Danville was only enhanced by the episode, even though he was on the verge of losing his job. Phil Erickson, a man renowned for his extraordinary pantomime abilities, was someone Van Dyke met later that year. Phil proposed that they become a comedy combo after he was impressed by Van Dyke's sense of humor. Eric and Van came up with the name Merry Mutes for themselves. The shows they put on were completely new to the public. They put on silent performances, acting out comedic scenarios while lip-syncing to popular tunes. Their impersonation of an irritated opera singer and conductor was a hit with audiences in one of their most famous skits. Performing in bars across the West Coast, the Merry Mutes traveled the road from 1947 to 1953. They gave it their all, performing 5 shows a night, 7 days a week. When they performed 35 gigs in 1 week in Los Angeles in 1950, they truly broke records. Their 1951 debut on Atlanta's WSB-TV with the Merry Mutes show was their big break. They went on to become nationally recognized thanks to this exposure, which landed them an appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show in 1952. Their funny slow-motion football act was just one example of how their antics resonated with viewers worldwide. Unfortunately, Erickson's decision to retire from the entertainment industry in 1953 ended their collaboration. Nonetheless, Van Dyke persisted in his profession. Van Dyke shifted his focus to television after his tenure with the Merry Mutes. He began hosting the CBS Morning Show in 1955, bringing his one-of-a-kind brand of humor and inventiveness to the show. He often collaborated with puppeteer Bill Baird to create entertaining sketches and characters. To tell the truth, a game show he tried hosting in 1956 ran for just 13 episodes. In any case, I learned a lot about live TV from it. In 1957, Van Dyke made his big screen debut as a hillbilly baseball player and country cousin in a guest appearance on The Phil Silver Show. The showrunner considered creating a spin-off starring him because of how popular he was, but ultimately decided against it. The Girls Against the Boys, a musical that featured Van Dyke, opened on Broadway in 1959 but closed after only 16 performances due to low ticket sales. Even so, he left quite an impression, particularly with his song, The Telephone Song, in which he danced around a phone booth while portraying the two parties involved in a phone call. Producers and critics alike saw his promise, and he was recognized for it with a Theatre World Award. His life took a dramatic turn after this performance, which landed him a starring part in the Broadway musical by Birdie. The 1968 film Chitty cast Van Dyke as the inventor Caractacus Potts, whose creation is a fantastic flying vehicle. Details like the car's use of components from a decommissioned World War I plane were among the many entertaining quirks showcased in the film. The sequences involving Van Dyke required the usage of special automatic autos because he was unable to use a manual shift. Similar to Mary Poppins, the Mio Bamboo dance was one of the most challenging scenes to film. It required 23 takes to get it precisely right. In spite of all that went wrong during filming, the movie is now considered a classic by many. Van Dyke wanted to shake up the comic in 1969. Compared to his usual comedic work, this film was really serious. Billy Bright, a silent cinema comic, has his life shattered by his own carelessness. The film opens with Billy's burial and moves on to explore his past through flashbacks. The performance by Van Dyke was very moving and solemn, showcasing a variant of his skill set. The film's honest portrayal of the hardships of fame and life during the silent film period led to its subsequent recognition, despite the picture's poor box office performance. Following the 1966 finale of his original show, Dick Van Dyke returned to television in 1971 with a brand new series. A Phoenix, Arizona, talk show presenter named Dick Preston was the character he played. On September 18th, the show began. Precise interval of 10 years subsequent to his debut successful series. Subjects that were considered taboo in the 1960s, such as interracial relationships and childless marriages, were discussed openly this time around. Despite these innovative ideas, the show failed to attract many viewers. The ratings were quite poor, as writer Carl Reiner would later note. They moved to Hollywood for the last season and had Dick's character become a soap opera star, but it didn't improve things. Behind the scenes, there were a few problems as well, most notably the episode Lieutenant Preston of the 4th Cavalry that CBS rejected. One important writer, Carl Reiner, became so irritated by this that he decided to leave. According to Van Dyke, the show would have been ruined without him. A total of 72 episodes later, in 1974, it came to an end. On the occasion of his 99th birthday, Van Dyke thanked his neighbors and others for their quick responses, who rescued him and his possessions from a dangerous fire. In his efforts to install a fire hose, he became acutely aware of the impending threat, he said. They had to pick me up and bring me to the car because I couldn't stand on my own. He explained, they saved my life and my house. Neighbors acted swiftly in response to the encroaching flames. In that moment, I realized I had to put everything else aside and get these people to safety, one rescuer wrote. He grabbed my arm and begged, "Please don't let my house burn down." I assisted him into the car, and he was much tougher than he seemed. The gang managed to rescue the back house by utilizing the garden hoses and fire prevention equipment of a neighbor. All the memories kept in his residence were safeguarded by us. According to them, that's the most important thing. Van Dyke expressed his appreciation. Although he eagerly anticipates his next birthday, he hopes it will be free of the same intense drama. As a result of the wildfires in Los Angeles, Dick Van Dyke said that his Malibu home was without heat or power. Using Instagram, the Mary Poppins actor and his wife Arlene Silver shared updates with fans. They found solutions to handle the problem, despite their worries. Leaving their $8 million mansion was something Van Dyke was hesitant to do. Van Dyke exclaimed, "I love our house," in response to Arlene's comment that he doesn't want to go anyplace else. In order to adjust, Arlene became resourceful and started making meals in their little camper van that they kept in the driveway. They made it their cozy abode. Taking advantage of the weather, they dined al fresco. The work that Dick Van Dyke has done is very outstanding. What recognition has he received? He won the Emmy for his work on The Dick Van Dyke Show for the first time in 1964 and went on to win 2 more in 1965 and 1966. Another Emmy came his way in 1976, when he was 50 years old, for Van Dyke and Company. He was named Days of Our Lives Emmy winner in 2024, at the age of 98. He has been nominated for 10 Emmys and won 6 of them. He took home the trophy in 1984 for a kids' show. And he was up for Mickey Mouse Clubhouse in 2015 as well. Together with Julie Andrews, he won a Grammy in 1965 for their work on the Mary Poppins soundtrack. Present with the Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award in 2013, he was 87 years old when it was signified. The Disney Legends Award was bestowed upon him by Disney in 1998. His participation in Mary Poppins was uncompensated, he said. In 2021, he received the Kennedy Center Honors, which he received at the age of 95. The auditorium at his Alma institution is named after him. Regarding Dick Van Dyke's life, what are your thoughts? Leave a comment with your thoughts.